Listen, I think it's an understatement to say that we dodged a bullet in November when Donald Trump won the election in such overwhelming fashion. Can you imagine if Kamala Harris were president right now and what her first 100 days would look like? Bullet dodged big time. And then when you look at the next step down on the ticket, JD Vance versus Tim Walz, good Lord, what a nightmare Tim Walz is, right? In fact, if you're curious as to how bad things are over in the life of Tim Walz and in his household, take a look at his daughter, who fashions herself a bit of a TikTok influencer. Well, first, she had a major announcement on TikTok about her future plans for graduate school. Because I know you've been sitting here every day wondering, I wonder what Tim Walz's daughter is going to do about grad school. Well, now you know. Take a look.
I got into grad school. I will not be attending starting this fall, though, and I will no longer be attending the university that I originally applied for. I applied for one school. I kind of had my heart set on it. That's what I wanted to do. I'm not going to name the institution, but given recent events, I am not going to give my money, go into debt for support institutions that don't support their students and the right to protest and, speak out for their communities. That's just not where I'm at. Students deserve to be protected. I'm not worried about if I were to be protected or not at said institution. I'm, privileged white woman, but I'm not going. I got into grad school.
Well, it's true. She is a privileged white woman. And it isn't remarkable that her own dad is not going to pay for her graduate school. I'm not saying that every dad should pay for graduate school, but her dad is a teacher, don't forget, was a teacher for years, is now the governor, now can make major coin when he goes out and gives a speech. So why is she going to go into debt for grad school? Number one. Number two, love to know what she was going to get a advanced degree in. That would be enlightening. Number three, it's Columbia. Obviously, I'm not going to name the institution. It's Columbia. Because why? Because Columbia just agreed to the Trump administration's demands. Here's what happened. The Trump administration cut off funding of like $400 million worth of grants, which, by the way, why in the hell are we giving Columbia University $400 million of my hard-earned tax dollars? That said, they cut off $400 million in grants, unless Columbia University instituted a couple of provisions there to ensure the rights of all the students, right? For instance, you're not allowed to wear a mask on campus because all of the pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist protesters who shut down the campus last year, they all had masks on. And I'm not talking about masks because they're afraid they're going to catch a fake Wuhan virus. No, these were like scarves, as if they were the Hamas terrorists that they glorify every day, those Palestinian scarves, keffiyehs or whatever. So one of the rules was people aren't allowed to hide their identity by wearing masks on campus, number one. Number two, they're not allowed to occupy and shut down buildings. These don't seem like onerous demands, by the way. They're not allowed to shut down buildings. They're not allowed to tell other students that they're barred from crossing campus or entering a building. And it's funny, the only students that were kept from crossing campus or entering buildings were Jewish. What's that all about, Columbia? What's that all about, Ms. Walz? So Columbia said, okay, fine. We're going to go ahead and do all those things. And so now they got their money back from the federal government, and Tim Walz's daughter is outraged at that. Well, you can kiss my tuition goodbye. Yeah, I don't think Columbia cares, honestly. That's the dirty little secret here. So she's grandstanding and she's saying, that's it. I'm not going to go to grad school because of that. And honestly, depending on what her career was going to be, I'm sure that we're all really brokenhearted over the fact that she's not going to advance her education in whatever chosen field. I'm guessing gender studies. Could be wrong. Maybe anthropology. I'm thinking she just wanted a gap year and she didn't know how to tell mom and dad that. So she's using this as an excuse. But then our crack researchers here at the Larry Show decided to delve a little further into young Ms. Walz's TikTok, and we found some real gems here.
This moral high ground that certain people have, and this talk about protecting the children and keeping tampons out of boys' bathrooms, which tells me they didn't even read the bill, but that's a whole nother thing. Also, if you have a wife or a daughter, a above the age of like 12, 13, ages vary, you share a bathroom, you probably also have tampons in your bathroom. And the fact that they scare you and you're so obsessed with it is fucking weird.
Who here thinks that it sort of hits a nerve that her dad is referred to as Tampon Tim everywhere she goes? Who here thinks that she's having trouble coming to terms with the fact that she's the daughter of someone named Tampon Tim? I think that may be the root of this. And I'm sorry, we did read the bill. We know exactly what it says. And you sharing a bathroom with your wife or your daughter or your sister, and there's tampons there, is a lot different than a boys' room in a public school. You know, for boys. Boys, by definition, do not have a uterus. But not in her world. And then there's this little gem about our president of the United States.
Signing an executive order that pertains to 1% of the population is not protecting women.
All right. I'm sorry. We're going to get through it. I promise I won't stop it again. But this whole thing is about, I think it's about men and women's sports, right? Yeah, this is banning men and women's sports. And first of all, that's a whole lie. It only affects this percentage. No, every woman who plays sports is affected by this if this is allowed to happen, because if the man wins the championship, that affected every woman, right? Number one. But the real reason I wanted to stop is the up talking. My God, what is wrong with this? The da 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 da. Thank God my daughters don't talk like this. Would drive me nuts. Where did she pick this up? Where did they? Why is this a TikTok thing? Is this just because they see other people on social media and they think this is the way they're supposed to talk to get attention? I can't unhear it. Listen to the sing-songy up talking here. It just makes me want to drill a hole in my ears until they bleed. All right, I'll let it play now.
Signing an executive order that pertains to 1% of the population is not protecting women. It's setting a dangerous precedent, and it is dangerous for the trans community, women, minorities, anyone who is not a straight white man. We are talking about human beings, and the president of the United States is targeting them just because he thinks it gains him political points or whatever. Because this thing that he's so worried about it's not real. It doesn't affect the people that he's trying to protect. It hurts them. Like, seriously, I think a lot of us need to open up a history book, because what's going on right now is textbook. It's textbook. And truly it's boring and it's loser behavior. I have never felt unsafe around a trans person. I have felt unsafe around men. So maybe let's deal with that. If these people that are in charge right now were really the big, strong, manly leaders that they claim to be, they wouldn't be doing things like this. They'd mind their own business, do what they need to do. They would not be doing this. They should be embarrassed. It also just shows how insecure they really are. Also, whenever I post anything political and it blows up whatsoever, I get shadow banned. So there I am again because I made fun of Elon Musk. How fragile must you be? How fragile? Anyways, protect trans kids, protect trans people.
She's something else. I want her to run for Congress. Isn't she terrific? This harms women. It harms women to make sure that human beings with male genitalia aren't disrobing next to them in the school locker room. It harms women. It harms women to make sure that the first time a 14-year-old girl sees a naked man, it's not against her consent. That harms women. And honestly, listen, I love this because she truly represents exactly where the Democrat Party continues to position themselves in. This is where they're living. And good. She's a thought leader, man. She's going to rival David Hogg if she keeps this up. And I'd love the impulse that every time something pisses you off, you pick up your phone and you post a TikTok video. This day, she was really upset because Donald Trump bought a Tesla. Real fast, before we get to Tim Walz raised this young woman. You know, in that last video, she was talking about what it means to be a real man, how real men behave. This is what a secure man does. Tim Walz is her role model for what a secure masculine person is supposed to do and how they're supposed to behave. So I think that we should say a little prayer for her and extend a little grace, because Lord knows she's got a skewed understanding of what it means to be a real and secure man in this society. All right. Really triggered by Trump buying a Tesla.
Literally kidnapping somebody that you disagree with politically, and then just a couple days later staging some weird commercial for your friend who spent a ridiculous amount of money on your reelection for his cars in front of the White House is dystopian as hell. Meanwhile, the markets are crashing. There's measles outbreaks. They're literally ripping apart the Department of Education and therefore public education. Oh, and eggs are still fucking expensive. More so, actually. It's not like anybody told people that this would happen. Oh, wait, people did. People literally said all of this would happen. At this point, if you're still defending it, there's no coming back from it. I'm a pretty forgiving person, but we are so far past that point. I think a lot of people are so far past that point, so I'm probably just like beating a dead horse at this point. But yeah, it's truly astonishing how far we have fallen in such a short time. But again, people told you that this would happen, so here we are.
Who here thinks she's not a very forgiving person? Also, by the way, that whole eggs are so expensive, that didn't last long, did it? That did not age well. Oh, we warned you this would happen. Yeah, I assure you that we knew full well. She does have her dad's hairline. That's impressive, isn't it? God. Woo! I'll be honest, though, she's in her own way a little bit more masculine than her dad. She's more like mom in that respect. All right. Do we want one more of Tim Walz's daughter? I love that her name is Hope, too, because everything about her is nothing but optimism and hope. I wonder if she and Kamala's armpit hair stepdaughter got along well on the campaign trail. But there's a podcast I'd watch. Whoo, boy. You know how Democrats are always like, it's not the people that we don't like, it's the politician. It's Trump. It's not Trump supporters. And I always remind you that, no, in fact, it's the opposite. They may not like Trump, but they're really pissed off at you. They hate you for daring to support him, for daring to like him. They've always hated Republicans, the individuals. They hate who you are. They hate what you believe. They hate what you stand for. And, well, she sort of gives it away here.
I understand that this is an extremely privileged take to be able to have. But I grew up in the church. I grew up going to church. I'm confirmed. I even worked at a church camp when I was in school. Not like the creepy, like colonizer type kind, but like the let's go hiking because the earth and, nature and the world around us is amazing and we need to protect it. And there's a greater power, that created that whole thing. My mom still goes to church multiple times a week. I'm in it. I don't really know where I stand right now, but I'm in it. I know it. And I want to say I sleep okay at night because I know all these people are not going where they think they're going. They're going to the bad place, if this isn't already the bad place. And history will show that. So, yeah.
I go to church all the time. My mom goes to church, not one of those colonizer churches. And I can just tell you from my perspective, all Trump supporters are going to hell, which has got to be one of the most Christian things I've ever heard somebody say. You always know that you're dealing with a real Orthodox doctrinaire Christian when they spend all their time telling you that you're going to hell because of who you vote for. That's a sure sign of the Christian faith. All right, let's wrap things up with some perspective here. That's Tim Walz's daughter. We've gotten quite a look at her, haven't we? Boy, did they keep her under wraps during the campaign. I mean, at least the Kamala Harris campaign did something properly. They didn't screw that one up. Boy, they called that one right. Keep her under wraps. For God's sake, whatever you do, keep her off social media. We don't want anyone knowing who she is. But let's check in. What's Tim Walz' son doing these days? Let's ask Tim Walz. He had a little story to share.
So I got an 18-year-old Gus, and I'm with Gus out there. And I'm having one of those dad talks with him. I was giving Gus my wisdom on what he had done wrong. You know, I was being, because I know these things, right? I'm the dad. In the middle of it, he gives me the old, says the guy who got his ass kicked by Donald Trump. And I'm like, okay.
All right, I like Gus. I want to see Gus's TikTok. There's daily musings that I'll follow. I love that. Even Tim Walz's son is giving him crap. Can you imagine? Hey, Gus, take out the trash and clean up your room. What the hell? You're screwed up. You're a major screw up in life. What are you doing? Spend all your time on the sofa playing video games. Go out and get a job and make something of yourself. Oh, says the guy who's got his ass kicked by Donald Trump. That's fantastic. Although, to be fair and accurate to Gus, Gus, come on, man. That's no way to talk to your dad. Don't do that. That's no fair. Come on. You're a grown man. You're an adult. You're 18 now. You can make your own choices, but it's not right to tell your dad that he got his ass kicked by Donald Trump. Let's be clear. Tim Walz got his ass kicked by J.D. Vance. Kamala Harris got her ass kicked by Donald Trump. That's better.